Welcome to ASRS's Journal of VitreoRetinal Diseases Authors Forum. I'm your host, Dr. Timothy Murray, Editor-in-Chief of JVRD. On each episode of the JVRD Authors Forum, I will interview innovative retinal researchers on their studies featured only in JVRD and how these studies will impact our patients' care in our clinics. Tune in to hear directly from investigators about the clinical implications of the newest and highest quality research in the field of retina.
Welcome. I'm Dr. Timothy Murray, Editor-in-Chief for the Journal of VitreoRetinal Diseases. It's my pleasure to bring you our JVRD podcast. Today I'm joined by my colleague, Talisa E. Carlo Forest, who is an assistant professor and medical director of imaging at the University of Colorado in Aurora, Colorado. We're going to discuss her article, Menopausal Hormone Therapy and Conversion from Intermediate to Advanced Age-Related Macular Degeneration. Welcome, Dr. DeCarlo Forest.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Talisa, tell me a little bit about what prompted you to consider this paper.
Yeah, so, this work was really brought about through our really excellent prior research assistant, Emily Auer, and one of our epidemiologists, Jennifer Patnaik. And they are very passionate, and our group is very passionate about women's health research, sex differences in AMD. And that's part of why we wanted to look at the impact on hormone replacement therapy on AMD progression. And we'd previously done an article, just case control, looking at differences in rates of AMD in patients that were and were not using hormone replacement therapy.
So your hypothesis was, when you started this paper, that hormonal replacement would?
Our prior work had shown that it was almost protective of AMD because we had higher rates of hormone therapy use in our AMD versus our control group. So we were hoping that there would actually be, or we thought there would be lower rates of progression to advanced AMD from intermediate AMD when we started this work.
And I think that speaks nicely to how different study designs can achieve different results that sometimes are confusing for our readers, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about how you structured this study.
Yeah, so we use kind of a time to progression analysis. So all of our patients, the 285 patients enrolled in the study, had intermediate AMD at enrollment. We looked at time to progression to advanced AMD, either GA or NV, and then we separated into each of those categories as well for subgroup analysis. And then we looked at whether they had ever reported using hormone replacement therapy or never reported using it. So kind of not quantification or length of time, but purely a yes or no status. And saw kind of if there is a higher percentage in the patients who had or hadn't progressed.
Yeah, the yes or no stuff always gets people a little bit because they're, I took a dose and I'm done. So that's always been one of the things. But the data we get is the data we get. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's hard to really get exactly what you want. So tell me, with that approach, what did your study find?
Yeah, so we did not find any significant difference between groups, between the hormone therapy users and the non-users. But as you said, it's a little bit tough. We didn't have the granularity of kind of time and quantity, and everything's patient reported, so there can be some mistakes there from a patient kind of selection process.
But in some ways, I think that there was such a negative focus on hormone replacement therapy in general, that having a result that shows no negative consequence, that there's utility to that also for our patients, right?
Yeah, and we did actually find kind of a borderline significance for progression to advanced wet AMD. So part of it is we think that we need to study this. We had an average kind of time in the study of 3 years of follow-up. We think with longer follow-up, larger sample sizes, there still could be a significant finding that we find in the future. But as you said, it's also tough. Dosing changed in the past, few decades, where because of the issues that they found with hormone therapy on cardiovascular health, there's a major decrease in usage and dosage changes that I think also affect things where it's not so standardized, even the ones that we're using at how much and how often.
Well, I think in these long-term longitudinal studies, even if you're looking at a short window, things change so much, right?
Yes.
So I kind of think about that when I'm in the OR, that what I'm doing now has nothing to do with what I trained to do. The equipment's different, the approach is different, the time's different, the patients are different. So I think that that's one of the difficulties with studies like this. But that's the study, right? You get to look at patients the way they are, not the way we wish them to be. So when you look at the data like that and you're seeing a patient in your office and she's asking you, I'm concerned, what do you use as a counseling approach?
Yeah, it's tough. I'd say the studies out in the literature, aside from our own, are a little bit variable in what we've found. And a lot of them are not longitudinal either. And so my counseling approach is really to do what's best for the patient holistically, that we'll monitor the macular degeneration really closely. And there's really no evidence either way at this point that we can make any conclusions.
Yeah, I think that we find ourselves in that circumstance a lot, where I'll tell my patients, you need to do what you need to do from a holistic health perspective. It's like steroids in central serous retinopathy. I'm like, if you're in the ER and you need a steroid, get a steroid. I'll deal with the central serous.
Yeah.
And I feel like we do a lot of that in our profession, is to understand that there may be impact from the patient's overall therapies, but we can monitor them and often adjust. So, and I feel a lot better too now when I know that we have options to treat. So when I started before anti-VEGF, I think that the idea of conversion, that really foretold for many patients blindness.
Yeah.
Now I feel like, it means you're going to see a lot more of me than you want, but, we're going to be able to do well together.
Yes.
Does that change the dynamic for you when you're talking to patients?
Yeah, I think a lot of these patients historically have parents who have lost vision. And so sometimes it's having that conversation. We're saying, actually we have really excellent therapeutics these days. Certainly we don't want you to progress, and it's a big treatment and time, financial burden. And we do lose vision inevitably in some patients. But overall, it's no longer this gloomy situation of we have nothing we can really do for you. And I think that really helps, and just understanding that there are treatment options and they're improving every year now. Yeah.
Well, the bar set so high for treatment options. I'm always skeptical about improving. For the take home for me, it seems to be is that you're suggesting that manage the patient appropriately for their hormonal therapy overall, and then follow appropriately for potential consequences, and we don't really know whether that's going to be an issue or not.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. So where do you go next? So you have this cohort of 285 patients. Are you going to try to carry them forward over time? Are you looking to expand the look? What are you doing?
Absolutely. I'm really excited about our University of Colorado AMD registry. We continue to enroll for about the past decade so far. We follow patients annually longitudinally, and so our cohort has grown significantly over the past even few years since this study was performed. So even now we have, I think, about double the patient cohort for progression, and so easily we could kind of redo this study with longer follow-up, higher sample sizes, but I'd really love to see more granular detail if we can actually ask patients specifically about their kind of duration, their dose, or be able to look through the charts and get a little more information now that we have a little bit of a stronger kind of cohort.
Well, I think that, I think one paper leads to another paper is why,
Yeah.
you're never done. That's one of the things we take home. Thank you for joining us today. Excellent discussion, a really on-point topic for some of the discussions taking place nationally. So I appreciate you being here for our JVRD podcast.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to the JVRD Authors Forum. You can watch and listen to more episodes on the ASRS YouTube channel and on popular podcast directories, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Visit www.asrs.org/JVRD forum on the ASRS website to learn more. See you soon.